So that's a wrap for the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, the inaugural race. In fact, that's it for the Tour. I'm going to take you through my talking points of what has been a fantastic women's race, full of drama, full of brutal stages, and full of exciting racing as well. And the first one is that without the organisers finally realising that women need the Tour, without the route designers putting out a fantastic route, the riders racing it aggressively, and the fans embracing the race, whether on TV or whether at the roadside, the crowd on the climbs, the finishes was absolutely amazing. This would never have been possible, so big thank you to the organisers, the riders and the fans for embracing this race. Conclusion number 2 now is that even illness can't stop Van Vleuten from completing the Giro Tour double and sealing the Tour de France Femmes, the first one. So 2 days to go, going into the mountains. She was just coming out of the illness, and it was always going to be a case of how much energy she had left, and she answered that on the first climb with a dominant ride, dropping everyone by Vollering, and then dropping Vollering, and then up to Super Planche, sealed it with a great win on the gravel as well, with the biggest margin of time gap for a stage that isn't a time trial. Great race from Van Vleuten, Giro Tour double. Now all we need is the Vuelta to get a week long for her to seal the Triple Crown. After Van Vleuten, it's clear that Demi Vollering is the heir to her throne. She was the only one that stuck with her on the Petit Ballon on stage 7, and then on stage 8 she was the only one that looked like staying with her. I'd say next year is probably too early. I don't see her being able to beat Van Vleuten next year as well, but Van Vleuten's retiring after next season, so clearly Vollering is the heir to the throne, and clearly the best, by quite some distance, over the likes of Uttrup Ludwig, Niliadoma and co. She can time trial, she can climb, she can ride the steep stuff really well. She proved that on Super Planche, where she actually closed the gap to Van Vleuten. So can't wait to see what she can do next year. Can she get closer to Van Vleuten? Moving on to the GOAT of women's cycling, Marianne Vos continued Jumbo-Visma's dominance of the green jersey and the Tours. Obviously Wout van Aert won green comprehensively in the men's race, and by taking 2 stage wins and plenty of other top placings, Marianne Vos continued their dominance over the green jersey. It was great to see the best throughout the Tour de France Femmes winning, but seeing Vos win and seeing Vos being the first to win in yellow adds a little bit of gloss to this year's Tour. It wasn't just Vos and Van Vleuten that showed the Dutch dominance of women's racing at the Tour de France Femmes. Then it was Lorena Wiebes as well. We knew she was the best sprinter in the world going into the Tour. We knew only really Elisa Balsamo could probably compete with her, and she wasn't at her best, but even if she was, there was no beating Lorena on the stage to Champs-Élysées for the first Maillot and stage 6 as well. She is by far the most dominant sprinter possibly ever, probably ever actually, in the women's peloton. Away from the Dutch dominance now and moving on to one of the most heartwarming and amazing victories from Cecilie Uttrup-Ludwig. The day before her win, FDJ were in ruins. Marta Cavalli was taken out by a moment of complete madness from Nicole Frayne, and great to see her back on the bike a couple of weeks after the accident. And also Uttrup-Ludwig, their other GC rider, lost a minute and a half after a crash as well. So as days go, couldn't get much worse. But a day later, finished at Epernay. They turned it around. They rode brilliantly as a team, and then Uttrup-Ludwig sat in and timed her sprint to absolute perfection inside the final 100 metres, and what followed was definitely the best interview we've had at the Tour de France for a very long time. Everyone, and I included, just loves her passion for racing, doesn't care if she wins, although it's nice, but her interviews are just full of life, full of joy for the sport. That's a wrap for my conclusions. It was a fantastic start. There's plenty more that I think the UCI can do for the women's Tour de France, and I'll talk about that in a separate video. But for now, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed my looks at the men's and women's tours, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.